So fuck yes, welcome after the Happy Meal. Fuck off to me.
Happy Meal.
Jonathan Hardesty.
Yeah, that sucked.
Chewie Tarso.
Hi.
Emily Blake. Special guest today is Eric Stolze.
Hello.
Thank you for being on with our worst intro ever.
I like to take full responsibility for that. I was staring you down.
I can feel it.
It's all that milk.
Don't screw up.
Ooh, that was a botched one, but we're just gonna plow right through it. Eric, do you have anything you'd like to plug right out of the gate?
I like to volunteer at the nonprofit 826 LA. And even if you're listening to this and you're not in Los Angeles, maybe there's an 826 location near you.
What is that for people who don't know?
826 is a beautiful nonprofit that deals with getting kids not only improved writing skills, but teaching them to love writing and find an aspect of writing or creative writing that really speaks to them and lets them express themselves. So not only showing them that they can write, but that they should, because their voices have value and are very specific to them.
That sounds like a pretty shitty organization.
Yeah, I mean, I get commission, so I just, I'm like an insurance salesman. I get 10 cents every time I talk about it on a podcast.
There you go. We're happy to line your wallet.
Money in the bank, baby. Cha-ching.
20
Thanks,
cents.
kids. Mm-hmm.
No, that sounds amazing. And I heard that you and the other friend of the show, Mari, do that every now and then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mari's a dream at it, too. The thing that she and I will most often do together are field trips for younger kids, first, second grade. Well, they'll go in, they'll create a book from scratch, first as group storytelling, and then they each write their own endings. And I play an evil boss named Mr. Barnacle, who is insisting on all these books by the end of the day, or everyone's fired forever, including everyone's cats and dogs. Hired and then fired. So I'm up like the Wizard of Oz in the rafters, just like talking into a microphone and saying like, "Oh, you're all so bad at this. Get better at writing books." And then Mari is actually the hero of the field trip, who gets to like stand there in front of 30 second graders and herd them like shepherding cats or squirrels into like groupthink and brainstorming and like crafting a story beat by beat. And you would have sworn that she's been doing it her whole life. She's an exceptional ringleader.
I don't understand how people can do that.
I've done so many of these, and I'm still just like, wow, that is really something that I think I'll leave to other people. But she's great at it, and everybody who volunteers there seems to walk away with a really strong, positive experience. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's really cool.
All right, so we'll do a Where Have You Been Doing? I can go first. I saw a little movie called The Disaster Artist.
Yay.
It's fucking fantastic. Like,
what a great story, Brian.
it was. I don't really know. I don't want to say too much because I feel like everybody should just go see it. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody, because it will have this kind of air of like movies about making movies never do well. It's just kind of historically how that always goes. And this one definitely has that to it, because it is, by and large, just about making one movie, one fucking horrible movie. But it does it in such a way where you know that you're watching like a Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg movie. Like, it's very clear that's what you're watching. And here come all of the cameos, and they're all there. Every one of their friends are in this movie, except for like I think one or two. But like everybody pops up, just like they do in like Sausage Party or like any of their other movies. And it kind of feels like this shouldn't be good. Like, you're watching it like this feels like a bunch of friends got together to make fun of a movie, and they ended up making like a really good, heartfelt, inspiring movie that should not in any way be what this is, but it's so good, and I can't recommend it enough.
So the hero of the movie is the script supervisor? I just would like to point out.
The hero of the room might be. He's not of...
He's
the hero
definitely...
of that movie was the script supervisor.
Yeah,
Maybe not the
absolutely.
hero of
He
this
gets
Yeah.
to be the voice of reason that
Yeah.
is so desperately needed by that
Just a
point.
reminder to anyone who decides they don't need a script supervisor.
In the movie, he's more so the what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
There's a scene, I'm not going to spoil any of the lines of it, but the scene where the script supervisor goes to cash his first check is, for anyone who's ever worked in freelance, it is one of the greatest scenes.
It's relatable.
It's very relatable, and it's just fantastic. But like that's what's so good about it, is it does a very good job showing the outside world what indie filmmaking can be like, even though this is like the worst case scenario of indie filmmaking. But it's just so great, and it's just a lot of fun, and a lot of heart went into it. And James Franco and his brother play off each other way better than I ever thought they would. I can't recommend the movie enough.
They don't even look related in the movie.
No, not at all.
Truly.
I mean, James Franco's makeup is spot on. And then the last thing I'll say before moving on is, I know this isn't a Marvel movie. Stay to the end of the credits, or you will miss one of the greatest things in the entire movie.
Also, mad props to them for getting the How Did This Get Made team into the movie.
What? They
Oh, yeah.
did? That's so
Yeah,
great.
podcast nerds, who I'm guessing everyone listening to this is
Yeah.
one, got not only the Zooks Manzukis and June Diane in there, but Paul Scheer plays a pretty prominent role.
Yeah, Paul Scheer is like an actual character.
Yeah, he actually has like an arc.
Yeah,
So does Jason.
yes.
I will watch anything with Jason Mantzoukas in it.
He's got a
Anything.
small part, but I was
He
really
plays a
excited.
straight man, which he doesn't get to do very often.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah, but the June Diane, I did not really at first recognize her because I wasn't expecting her to pop up because she doesn't usually pop up in movies. She's more in TV and stuff. And
Yeah, totally.
like, oh, there, you got all three of them.
Yeah,
Really
yep.
awesome.
And Adam Scott, who's like a very constant guest of theirs.
Yeah, the Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Go-to. and I'm hoping this means that since they've been talking about getting into a Fast and Furious movie every time they talk about one,
Yeah.
I hope this means that they're inevitably in the 9th one.
I feel at this point there's
Or at
no
least
reason
The
not
Rock
to do
It's
it.
for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
All right, that's it for me though.
I saw the movie Okja on Netflix. We just moved to a new house and only the TV was unpacked because that's the first thing you unpack and plug in when you move to a new place.
America.
America! And I was just looking for something that was whimsical, weird, fun, exciting. I was kind of in a mood. And so I came across this, and Netflix now plays trailers when you select the thumbnail before the movie starts. I'm like, that could be spoilerish, but let's see. It had Paul Dano in it, and it was all this weird stuff. I was like, this could be up my alley. And it was. It was up my alley. It was fun. It was good. I really liked it. And I liked how weird it was. I wasn't expecting it to be as weird as it was.
What was it about?
With that director, you weren't expecting it to be weird?
was
That guy
expecting-
only makes weird shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I keep forgetting.
How much did you cry?
I got close.
What,
I'm
what's-
an emotionless
Close?
robot. I got
what is
close.
it? What is it about?
It's about this mega corporation creates these genetically enhanced super pigs. It's a company led by Tilda Swinton. And
Oh,
they're-
that's why it's already super.
yeah,
weird.
yeah. And so the idea is to prevent hunger or something like that. The company was vague in its copy.
Well, it's technically to make profit.
make
but,
profit,
but
yeah.
their big spiel is like, we could save the world.
Yeah, so they build these giant super pigs that can create some great meat that'll last a long time. And so then they send them off to various regions in the world. And so this young farmer, or this old farmer, and his daughter raise this pig, and she forms an attachment to it, and they just take the pig away, Okja. And so then she goes around the world to chase after it. And then she meets this activist group. What was it? What's it called? Free Animals or something? I forget.
Yeah,
I haven't
forget.
watched it yet. I don't know.
Yeah, and so then they also want to free all these super pigs, and it's this mishmash of that.
That sounds
And it's
amazing.
so weird. And then
It's a great movie.
It is great, but yeah, weird. And I'm glad I watched it.
Every performer is like really making some crazy choices and fully committing
Oh.
to it. You won't believe Jake Gyllenhaal. in
Jake
this movie.
Gyllenhaal is. That was the most surprising thing. I was like, he's in
Yeah.
that. That's Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
Wait, what?
There was
Hopefully
some
future
blowback,
Batman.
but I really liked his performance a lot. It's a lot, but if you get on board with it early enough, there's a lot of fun to be had there.
Yeah.
That's what I love about that director. Is I feel like he pushes people more
100%.
than a lot of people do right now.
Absolutely.
I will talk about music because
Oh.
I'm not as big of a music person as Brian.
To
he's
preface
actually-
this, if Chewie ever tells me she's excited about a band, and I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm about to listening to.
I like a lot of weird things.
Yep.
I am always trying to get people to listen to Nightwish. Most people would be like, I don't know.
It's on our playlist
what
almost
the
every week.
Fuck, you're just making us listen to. I'll be like, it's amazing.
You know that 12-minute song you skip every week on our playlist? That's Nightwish.
They're amazing. But thanks to a friend of mine sharing a video that was recorded off somebody else's television, I've discovered the Cleverlies, and their website says, "We are a family bluegrass band from a remote thicket of Stone County, Arkansas. We hope you enjoy our grass hip-hop fusion music."
Oh wow.
And I'm in love.
It's
That sounds
fucking
They do
incredible.
covers.
It sounds amazing.
They do fucking covers, and I like their version of Low more than the original. Just give this a moment. Just let it build. Right?
That's pretty great.
That's amazing.
Weirdly haunting. There's something about that sounds
Although
like
I cannot
ghosts.
hear the song without picturing Tom Cruise dancing in a fat suit.
Even with these guys?
I'm obsessed.
Especially with these.
They do a cover of Single Ladies. This is also quite enjoyable.
Oh my god.
And-
What?
Okay, well I'm gonna run out and get with the
I
Cleverlies.
just- I love them so much.
Oh my
Yeah, the
God,
Cleverlies.
that's amazing.
If we're well behaved, will you play that at the end of the podcast?
Yes. And so, I mean, I just like bands that don't take themselves too seriously a lot, which is why I love Yelvis and Lonely Island, and those are all, they all do their original content, and they're all comedians. These guys must love hip hop, and they happen to be a bluegrass band from Arkansas, and they decided to go with it.
That's great.
They're fantastic.
Nice.
Like, it's great.
Emily, what about you?
We're about to get kinky, y'all.
Yay!
I watched a series on Showtime called Submission. It's by Jackie St. James, who is a porn director, but her mission is to take porn and make it as mainstream as possible. So this is on Showtime, not, and it's not Skinamax. It's actually a show with a plot. It's softcore. And the great thing is most porn, especially, like softcore is all about most porn in general is all about gratification of the men. It's about abusing women or treating them like dirt or letting them be objects, and so that we can all watch a dude get his rocks off. This is by a woman, and it's very geared. It's about BDSM, but which is funny because in BDSM women are treated like objects, but that's what they want. Like that's what makes them excited. So it's all about like this woman who's sort of finding her submissive side and learning about BDSM, and there's all these other women involved, and there's a really like one of the episodes had this really beautiful lesbian sex scene that was all about the passion between the two women and not just like, look at this two chicks fucking. It was like these two women who were falling in love and weren't sure what to do because they were both married to men. And there's just like, it's really, really cool. It's very classy, and it's really nice to see like porn aimed at women, and like the 50 Shades of Grey crowd, but with more consent and more realistic portrayal of what BDSM actually
And not
is.
shaming
Better
BDSM.
And
writing.
not shaming
Yeah.
BDSM, exactly.
Not trying to cure it.
Yeah, the entire
Fucking 50
plot
Shades
of
of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey is trying to cure him of his need for BDSM.
Yeah.
It's the twilight of BDSM. It's a real fucking drag.
No, this
Yeah.
is about women finding it and realizing like what they really want, and it also gets into some dark territory where people like push boundaries and inappropriately. So there is a plot there, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I second that. It really rules. I was going to delete my account for Showtime after Twin Peaks because I literally only got it to watch the new Twin Peaks. And then I was like, haha, suckers, I'm going to get my money back. And then I was like, oh, there's a show called, all right,
Lady
I got an hour. I guess I'll
Smut.
watch this. Yeah. And then sure enough, I was like, oh shit, this is actually one of the best shows I've seen all
It's
year.
really good.
Yeah, it's
like I immediately actually emailed Jackie St. James and was like, this is amazing. FYI, if you have any script supervisor, I'm totally down to do softcore porn.
right on. Yeah, I mean,
I've had
it's
porn
so
on
good.
my bucket list of jobs for like ever.
Yeah.
Just one day. I just want to know what it's
You were
like.
so close.
Oh, I was so close to working on Pirates 3, and then they canceled it.
Bucket list has a different context in my head with porn. It's like, what is that bucket for? What is it full of? We don't want to know.
It's not just
Or
two
do we?
ladies this time.
Ooh, gross. Cool.
Hey, what about you, Eric? What did you see recently?
Slightly less kinky, but still R-rated. I got to see Shape of Water last night, and it is absolutely my favorite movie of the year.
So good. So good.
I'm not going to say it's the best movie of the year because I understand that like there are decisions made here, both in terms of the storytelling and in terms of how they decide to portray the world. Where somebody could say that it feels too much like a movie, like they can see the artifice at work a little too much because it's trying to resemble, similarly to aspects of La La Land, that kind of like golden Hollywood, like this is a soundstage, this is a very elevated design.
There's a classicness to it that could be off-putting.
Yeah, exactly. And also something that could be off-putting is that a woman falls in love with a fish monster. But here's the thing, is that like you could see people deciding not to remark upon or react to it during the movie. Like a few people were kind of like, what's going on right now? And then like the majority of people were like, we're going to follow this story where it takes us.
Yeah.
Because by that point, it earns it so completely.
Yeah.
Sally Hawkins is far and away, in my opinion, the best performance
Phenomenal.
of the year. So incredible. Just I was weeping by the midpoint of this movie purely because of her incredible delivery. And, it is a movie about curiosity at the end of the day. It's a movie about, like, allowing your heart to be open to a different kind of person, a different kind of experience, being curious about learning more about the world and not just subscribing to yesterday's just categories. And so I appreciated that so many people in the audience chose to approach the movie with that same sense of curiosity.
It's not for the sarcastic or the ironic person.
Never, no.
It wears the earnestness a lot more on its sleeve than in some of his other movies.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, like Pacific Rim has a little bit of like a wink to it. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of like a winky, like blockbuster detachment in aspects of Pacific Rim, not in the
Pacific
best.
Rim, yeah.
Or Hellboys 1 and 2.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and I mean that's a lot
all
of
those other movies in my brain.
Yeah, and that's him, working with what he's got. So there's a lot of, kind of like nudge, nudge, wink. This is a little weird at times. And like the things that I didn't like about Pacific Rim was when it was trying too hard to be like a gigantic blockbuster and not just reveling in again, this like diverse cast of like extremely interesting odd people. But this is like pure 110% mainline Del Toro. This is so clearly uncompromised to the point where it goes in directions that you wouldn't expect. And the less you know about it, the better. And especially the trailers that have come out are pretty, they give away like
don't watch the
entirely
trailers
too
now.
much. Yeah. I would say just all you have to know about it is that yes, it is going in the direction that you think it's going with her and the fish man. But it's cool, man. It's all cool. We're all just doing our best. We're trying to find love in a shitty world. Just go, baby, go.
Yep.
I really want to see it. We were between 3 movies last night, and we ended up with Disaster Artist because right now,
Still a great choice.
yeah, and Shape of Water is only playing in 2 theaters in LA, and neither one of them were near us.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
We're going to get to I, Tonya tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. So Shape of Water is now 3rd. So,
Right
but
on.
we still have to see Star Wars next Friday because or I guess tomorrow.
Yeah,
when
because
this
it's
is
the end of the
coming
year all of a sudden. What?
out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, surprise! 2017 is over.
Yeah.
We're 1 year with Trump down.
Oh God, this year cannot end fast
This
enough.
year has felt like 5.
It's fucking awful.
Yes.
It
Things
just keeps
aren't
going.
all on fire yet.
Well, not in this state. It's pretty much all on fire here.
Everything's
Yeah, I
on
was-
fire.
Israel might be on
I yelled
fire.
at the flames like, "Do me the favor."
Yeah.
For real.
So this sounds all like a good time, right?
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's such a good time.
Yeah.
As our Where Have You Been Doing turned really depressing.
We did talk
Sounds
about
like a great time to
Twilight.
talk
Actually,
about
is a
good
good
time.
segue into
Yeah.
this really depressing movie.
Ryan, I forgot you majored in transitions in
yeah.
college, right?
Yeah, that was the Columbia Film School.
Transitions are an important part of post, so don't
That's
knock
true.
it.
Yeah, that was the star wipe of the podcast.
I mean, tell me I'm wrong. They would definitely have that at Columbia.
110%. Yeah, and it would cost somehow $10,000 more a year.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be one student. Okay, so this movie came out to a very wide audience of basically nobody. I think it played in all of like 5 cities in the entire country. So it did not do very well. It did better than you'd think it did, though. I'm pulling up the numbers again. I looked at it last night.
The funny thing about this movie, while Brian looks up the numbers, is Facebook was targeting me. I was getting advertisements for this movie daily, constant. Every time I opened my Facebook, see good time. Robert Pattinson is a breakout role. Totally diverges himself from Twilight. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, this doesn't look like the type of movie that I would normally go to. Why
Yeah.
are you marketing to me so hard?
I was marketed very hardcore on Facebook for this movie.
See, I wasn't, and I'm the only one
why-
at the table who saw it in theaters.
That's why I told you to
No,
see it.
I intended to, and I wound up drinking too much at Tiki Tea that night. I did not make it the whole 5 blocks to the Los Feliz 3 theater. sadly.
So there was this one day when I just was doing something. I don't know if I was sewing or whatnot, but I wanted Brian to not bother me. So I was like, go see a movie. Go see Good Time. Because Facebook keeps telling me to go
Marriage.
see Good Time.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out.
So then Brian went to see it. And
Yeah, I know.
otherwise, I might not have actually ever seen it myself.
Yeah, it would not be on the podcast today if that day did not happen. But at its widest release, it was in 700 theaters, so not a huge release. And then it ended up making $2 million out of its reported very low budget, but they did not release the actual numbers. because A24 does that a lot for some reason. I don't know why.
It's kind of the new model, right? I mean, same with like the streaming services. I feel like they're probably just following that lead.
Yeah, it kind of makes
But
sense.
you could have shot this movie for like $2. It was really low budget.
Well, from what I understand, and I could be wrong here, but I don't think Robert Pattinson took that big of a check on this one. I think he worked for a lot of like way less money.
it makes sense because this is so much a departure from everything he's done up to this point that it's going to open up more options for him.
I mean, I hope so, because that's what he was doing with Cosmopolis, and I forget the other one he did with that director. That now I'm blanking on his name too.
Cronenberg.
Thank you. Yeah, he did 2 with him, and I think that was kind of the goal there.
Was it
And
Maps of the Stars? Is that it?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it was Map to the Stars.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But neither one of those really had quite the appeal that this one did. And before we go any farther down this rabbit hole, I think we need to do a breakdown. Eric, are you excited for your breakdown opportunity?
Yes, I'm going to overthink this, especially with this movie, in which there's not really that much to overthink. But
Yeah, I mean, this
do it
one's
anyway.
pretty straightforward. All right, so good time in 30 seconds. Here we go.
So there are these 2 brothers, and they're bank robbers, and one of them is suffering from some mental challenges, and unfortunately, he is the one who gets arrested after a bank heist gone awry. And so Robert Pattinson, his supposedly more intelligent brother, who still makes really bad decisions, is tasked with trying to get the bail money to get his poor brother out of jail in one night before the worst of the worst could possibly happen to him in jail.
Okay, yeah, that kind of works.
The end. I had 1 second left. I was like,
Shit goes very, very wrong.
yeah.
It
It doesn't go great. Could have gone better for everybody involved.
yeah. I'll say that was a success. Well done.
Thank you. Does that mean I get to hear the cover from the Cleverlies at the end?
Yes, you do.
Yay! Good dog.
All right, so before we get too far down this one, the thing that I kind of want to mention just right out of the gate is I've recommended this movie to pretty much anybody with a pulse. I loved it so much the first time I saw it, and now these recommendations, now that it's on Blu-ray and Redbox and stuff, are coming back to me, and I'm getting a lot of, what the fuck is your problem? Why did you make me watch this horribly depressing movie? And I was like, but wasn't it really well made? And they're like, yeah, we don't give a shit. It was really sad.
So basically, my reaction to you on Facebook is exactly what you've been hearing. Okay.
I've been getting that from a lot of people. And it's interesting because I really blame the year more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a time now where escapism is, people want to go and have a good time. And then with a movie named Good Time,
I've had more than one person at work tell me lately, they'll be like, they only go to movies if they're escapisms. They have no interest in like dramas right now.
I've found that happen to me. I'm a lot more interested in that. And I didn't realize it was happening, but then I'm like, don't want this. This is too real. Oh, shoot. I need myself some escapism.
Yeah, after this movie was over, I had people coming over, and I was gonna watch The Walking Dead, and I was like, I can't. So I just like turned on a marathon of Always Sunny, which was rolling on the TV all night. So I was like, I need something fun.
It's still about terrible people, similar to this
but
movie.
it's
This is
funny.
like if Always Sunny was a drama.
Yeah. Charlie's the one in jail.
Yeah, totally.
And
Charlie.
Dennis is trying to get him out.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Why isn't that an episode yet?
Dennis's girlfriend could be Danny DeVito.
Yeah. Even like the plot to like infuse Sprite with acid, how is that not totally straight out of Always Sunny?
Right?
I got this great idea. Everybody drinks Sprite. Nobody tries acid. Put them together.
Kitten mittens.
Yeah.
But
Fight
This would
milk.
be a very different movie.
now, beyond the fact that it was horribly depressing and it bummed everybody out, did everybody else enjoy it for what it is, or no?
I did.
Was I way off the mark?
No,
I
I'm glad that
enjoyed it.
I'm glad that I saw it.
Okay.
I could appreciate it. Like I appreciate the artistry. I appreciate, like, for one thing, the premise is so simple and such a great, like, you have this one task. We see why it's important to him. We understand the urgency. It's a very easy to digest plot. And I like that like things keep ratcheting up. Like structurally, what I'm saying is structurally, I thought it was a very good premise and a very well structured film. So I can appreciate it from that angle, and even the way that it doesn't let up, even with the music, it's just like constant going, which is why it was hard for me to watch. But I can respect the choices. I don't know why I said respecta. I gotta respect the choices.
You're going Italian for some reason.
It's very New York. I liked it. Hey, I got a lot of respect for this.
His name. It starts with a C. Robert Pattinson's character.
Oh, Connie.
Connie.
Oh yeah.
Connie, to me, is just such an interesting character because he doesn't really seem dumb. He makes dumb decisions, but you can always kind of see the logic behind them. And he never wants to hurt anybody. The entire movie is just him making these bad, illegal decisions, and he's actively trying not to hurt anyone. He's trying to get all this stuff done without it. He's really trying to think of his brother's best interest, because speaking back to the book that you love, honey.
Which one?
Mice and Men. Not
Oh,
Mice.
yeah, of Mice and Men. Yeah.
I mean, they even go when his brother's on the phone with his grandma. We're like, we were gonna buy a farm.
Yep.
I was gonna do whatever I wanted.
That's
And it's
I
just
wouldn't have thought of that. That's a good
It's
point.
really like this is kind of like a modern day Mice and Men.
It's
in
the
a way.
Very
second
good
movie
point.
Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson has done where it mirrors Mice and Men.
Yeah.
I think he likes of Mice and Men.
Yeah. And it's just so sad for me because if this clearly their parents are gone, they're orphans, they were raised by their grandma who probably didn't have very much money, so I'm sure their upbringing was not great. So he's just like a lot of lower America doing the best he can with what he's got and what he knows. And then so to me, when he gets to the point when he's so desperate and he actually beats up the security guard, that actually like hurt me for a moment because I'm like, this is the first time I'm actually seeing him hurt somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. He did make out with a 16-year-old
Okay,
girl.
Yeah.
that
Well,
was him trying to get her to stop watching
No,
the TV and
but
get them
ew.
kicked out of the house.
See,
Yeah.
this is where I'll push back a little bit because I agree with you. He does not want to hurt anybody, but he's totally willing.
He's
to.
totally
Yes.
willing to,
Yeah.
but he did seem like he was trying actively to not. Like it wasn't his next best option. It was like
No,
his
yeah.
third, fourth, fifth.
Yeah, but it was never off the table.
Yeah.
If it came
Right.
down to murdering somebody to get his brother out of jail, I think he would have done it.
Yes.
Yeah, and he comes close a couple
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's just, I thought he was a really sympathetic character that you were also like, I'm sorry, but these things you need to stop, and you do need to go to jail. Like you just,
Yeah, no, I think he's sympathetic and I think he's relatable, but in the worst way. Like
Yeah.
it's like he's the guy who's lost everything.
His-
Like not to call him a loser, but he kind of is. Like he's
No,
not,
he's
and not like in
totally
a
a
negative
loser.
way, but it's like everything he's ever had in his life has been shit, and it's just never worked out for him. Even he comes up with a semi-decent bank robbery plan. Like it wasn't the farthest off. And I wrote it in my notes when we were watching it. If he had just taken the money out of the till, the whole movie doesn't happen.
Right.
Movie's over.
if he didn't get greedy.
Yeah, but he's like, nope, we need the whole thing, and then that's how they got the smoke bomb in there, and then that was that.
I only found him sympathetic up until the point where he started manipulating the girl, and that I felt was just like, ugh.
That was
so
sleazy
gross.
and
It's
gross.
so gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh
was-
yeah, it's terrible, but
Yeah.
like that's kind of why I still
In
think
his
it's
brain, it was just, I need to not get kicked out of this
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
yeah, and like that's why I still think he's sympathetic in a way, not that but you still want him to lose, which is not like something that Emily famously likes in movies.
We all could have predicted I
Yeah.
would not enjoy this movie.
Because
Yeah.
the best thing for him to do, he ended up doing, which is just going to jail and making sure that his brother gets out by taking all the blame.
Yeah, and I did like that at the end of the movie, the therapist, who was not mentioned in Eric's breakdown, I should have said he failed.
Oh, I forgot. That's your
Yeah.
favorite character.
Yeah, he's actually pretty close. He's the only really good guy in the movie.
Yeah, he's the only one who seems to
and he
have like
really
the future
cares.
in mind.
And I do like
Yeah.
when Connie's taking Nick away, and he's just like, "This is not helping him."
Yeah.
you know, you
totally.
can feel how desperate he is. Like, stop doing that. Let me help your brother.
Like
Yeah.
he totally feels like that guy who works the no pay job as like a social worker, but he actually wants to be there and he wants to help
Yeah.
people. And
Yeah.
the actor just nailed that.
And even after
Yeah.
doing it for probably like half of his life, 40
Yeah.
years, he so clearly still has like a spark.
yeah, and like
Which
those
gets
people
frustrating
exist. and-
because you can tell that he also think that he knows that Connie's convinced that he knows his brother's best interest.
Right.
So it's that conflicting emotion of we both deeply care about him, but one of us is wrong and it's you.
Yeah,
And I like
and back to my original point on it, though. Sorry, John. Was that I love that the therapist knew enough to not badmouth Connie. So, like at the end of the movie, when he's taking him to the room, he's like, "And Connie did the right thing. Connie's right where he needs to be." So, like he's still like being that great guy where you know this guy hates Connie.
Yeah.
And he has
Right.
every right to, and is totally right about Connie not being the right person for him. But he's still smart enough to be like, yeah, we're very happy for you that you're out of jail. You're doing great. You got a great haircut. Everything's looking great. Your brother's in the right place, so he's doing the right thing.
Brother's gonna get the help he needs.
Yeah, like it
Right.
was.
Gonna get rid of those frosted tips.
Yeah, he's gonna have a lot of help getting the crap beat out of him, and
Yeah.
by opening his mouth about 20 too many times in prison.
Oh yeah, but it started as a joke. But now that I think about it, he might be my favorite character in the movie. He's the only good guy.
He also kind of looks like David Cronenberg,
Yeah,
who we
totally.
mentioned
Does.
earlier. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting that the movie, even though he is a good guy and he's, I like him, but the movie frames him in such a way that I like. It seems bad when you're watching it that the brother ends up with that therapist at the end. They somehow frame the social worker as so like that's not the good option, and I like how the movie kind of manipulates me in that way.
See,
Well,
I
you
felt-
get swept up into their point of view. The
I
brothers.
get, I
Yeah.
get swept up into that into Connie's point of view essentially.
They made it look kind of like a different type of a prison.
Yeah.
But I would disagree that it wasn't really a prison. It was just more so structure, I guess.
Yeah, and it really frames structure and the normalcy as its own prison, which I thought was part of why I felt like bummed at the very end because it was evoking those feelings in me.
But-
that like
Yeah.
it was a good ending. It was a good ending. Everything happened right.
But even
I
though
feel,
like even though I agree with you up until the thing, but if you sit through the entire credits with him finally playing the game to cross the room,
Yeah.
because I think that you were supposed to feel that way, like, oh, he lost. He's in this room with people who make him feel stupid, which is never great, and he's in the wrong place. But then he starts,
yeah.
going with
and
it.
that may not be what he wants, but it's absolutely what he needs.
Yeah.
And that's when up until the moment when he starts choosing to participate, it's like, oh, this sucks, and then he makes that choice, and you're like, okay, maybe it's all right.
yeah,
I went through that journey too at the very end. I was just
yeah,
like,
totally.
It
Yeah.
was like I was starting to kind of get into it. I was like, oh yeah, back and forth. Okay,
And
yeah.
actually, it's like a very soothing game. I would like to play it.
Yeah, I know. We should do that after this.
Well, listen
While
to
we
the
listen,
Cleverlies.
yeah.
You guys can
Cross
go
the
do
room if
that.
you've ever
I'm just-
loved the Cleverlies.
It's the sort of thing that I was never into.
What, moving back and forth across
Oh no,
the room.
personally, like
Not
those
your bag.
activities, I don't like.
We
those
could play
activities
red light,
myself,
green
but-
light, because that can end up violent.
Not good for their therapy session.
Red light, stop hitting me, red light.
But while we're kind of in that area, I want to talk about the brother, Benny. I don't know how to pronounce their last names.
director?
Yeah, well, he's the director / plays the
Safdie?
brother. Softy?
Safdie or something.
Safdie?
Like that. Yeah.
That guy's fucking incredible, and does such a good job. Like he and his brother alone. Like after this movie, I'll watch any movie they make. I'll just go in expecting to be depressed when I leave.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a safe bet. I haven't seen the one they did before this, but the tagline, a one-sentence description of it includes both heroin addiction and suicide. So,
Sounds fun.
yeah,
Sounds like a
right
blast.
up their alley. Yeah.
But like the thing is, like I was watching the like some interviews on like late night or like daytime TV, saying like just stuff like that with the cast when they're trying to promote the movie, and like listening to him talk and then watching me in this movie, the guy is incredible. Like I would not have expected that performance out of that guy if I had just seen an interview with him, and that's not trying to be mean to the guy at all. I was very impressed like the whole way through. I'm like, wow, this guy's doing a great job, and that he's doing double duty and directing. It's like, wow, that guy's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I could be wrong, but did they have something to do with the music? Did you guys pay attention to that?
The music was maybe my favorite part of the movie.
Music's
really
so
good.
good.
It reminded me of Stranger Things, actually.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
it was relentless. It was the music made you feel so uncomfortable on top of everything else.
It says the music was by Daniel Lopatin.
Okay, so
Lopatin,
I'm just loving them a little
as
too much.
One-eo Tricks
chosen.
Point Never.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the name of it said music by, and I laughed. I was like, "Oh, this sounds like someone making fun of a DJ."
Nope, just a normal
No,
DJ.
just a guy named Daniel.
But yeah, the music's great. I thought like the directors just themselves, I think they just very on point throughout the whole movie. Like they kept making the right choice for the movie, which is the wrong choice for
For a
anyone
human.
else in life.
Yeah.
There was something else I wanted to say about him. Now I can't remember what it was. Anybody else want to say anything about
The
that?
director?
The director brother. There's two directors. We're only talking about kind of one of them.
Yeah, I thought his performance was good. You know, it's a little tricky waters to wade into when you're playing someone with mental differences or
Yeah.
mental
Simple
disabilities. Yeah, exactly. There's a long and horrifying tradition in Hollywood of people assuming that they can do that and that they should. And
Yeah.
neither of those things are true.
Yeah, they can, they should, and that they'll get an Academy Award for it.
Yeah,
It's
and
like-
that has
You
been.
make me happy.
Yeah, yeah.
That is the second Tropic Thunder reference I have made today.
I hope it's not the last.
For a little segue with the brother, it was interesting when he was in jail. He wanted to watch Law and Order. Did you guys? I don't know if you guys picked up on that.
I thought he didn't want to.
No, he wanted to switch Law and Order to something else.
Yeah,
Oh, I
because he
thought-
came back in there watching Law and Order. He's like, that's not what I was watching.
Oh, so I was confused because I thought that's what he did want to watch, and that they kept trying to change it off.
I
of
imagine
that.
Law and Order would be really hard for that guy to follow.
I think he came and tried to turn it off
I
because
thought
he
it
was
was
watching something.
Oh.
I thought it was a nice touch as the brothers were continually butting up against Law and Order the
Yeah.
whole time.
That's what
Change that channel, damn
That's
it.
their
was
research,
so
yeah.
it was so on purpose though, because so the inmates in the jail want to watch Law and Order, and then when he's watching TV with the girl at her house, they're watching Cops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's interesting that all these people that are in situations where they wouldn't like law enforcement are watching things about law enforcement. And specifically when Pattinson and the girl are sitting down and they're watching these cops yank a woman out of her van and then end up
Get her stabbed.
Get her stabbed because they just body slam her to the floor as if that's helping them. And we're seeing it from their perspective, and then the cops are just brutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pattinson even says, we need to change this because I don't want to see them try to justify that. Like, that's his line.
Yeah.
That actually would have been my choice for a line, so I just gave that away.
Just remember it.
So I was picking on that while I was watching the movie, but like, it's just because this movie is so good at giving you the perspective of the people that live outside the law, but not necessarily by choice, just by their circumstances and how they feel like everything's against them.
You know, it's a very good picture into the world is against me people, like, and not saying that it's not true, because for some of these people it does absolutely feel like that, and this feels like a guy who's been beaten down his entire life like that. So it kind of seeing him watch Cops is a very interesting. It was an interesting
I
thing
never
to
liked
do.
watching Cops growing up because, yeah, it always just seemed like, why does this just so depressing? None of them. Why am I watching this?
Totally.
I was just a film nerd, and I just didn't like the way it was shot, so I didn't watch it.
There's also this kind of sense throughout the movie that these two are kind of stuck in an adolescent mindset, you know, that they're two grown men, but that they have this mindset of like two little boys playing cops and robbers or playing like, you know, Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer.
for sure,
almost. And I really appreciate that the longer the movie goes on, the more it tends to visually reflect that. And it's really intense color choices, this like palette that is so like bright and fluorescent and could almost be like a kid's playroom by the end of it.
It leads them to a kid's playroom, essentially like a giant carnival. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like the stash is in a haunted house or something inside this like super weird, like, you know, like an off brand Coney Island.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of you ever see the movie Running Scared? With,
Yeah,
Paul
totally.
Walker? Yeah, it
Yeah.
kind of had that same sort of like
Like a grim fairy tale kind
yeah,
of vibe.
yeah,
almost.
absolutely.
100%.
even the movie Hannah does that, where her and Kate Blanchett.
That's a great example. Yeah.
Face off at a carnival of creatures.
Yeah, and even more so than Running Scared, that had that kind of muted color vibe. Hannah has like a really bright color scheme. There's like, especially, you know, towards the end, there's some extremely intense visuals and very like strange color choices that really kind of establish it as like a kid's idea of like a crime world nightmare in a cool way.
The difference with Good Time though is that I never felt like they were trying to go surreal, and like not that Running Scared or Hannah does, but they push that a little bit more.
They push on it, yeah.
Whereas this one, it felt like just kind of fantasy, but more realistic. Like definitely more grounded. Like when he's in the girl's house, everything is like greens and blues and everything. Like there's not a single like white light anywhere in there. And like you kind of have that in each place, other than maybe the hospital. But even the hospital, they still do like the fluorescent coloring and that sort of thing. Like there's no like normal lighting throughout the entire movie, except when they're outside during the day. And it kind of has this like fucked up nightmare feel to it, which is totally on purpose. But it's like it didn't ever feel like a dream to me.
Oh God! Now I'm thinking about how many night shoots this was.
And they
Oh,
many.
yeah.
and
So
the way they
many.
colored and framed and shot the day, I had to just now I was reminded that there were scenes in the day, and I forgot because that daytime is so oppressive and not safe.
Yeah. And when you start to see the sunrise toward the end of the movie, you feel a little like tinge of panic, like, oh God, no, that means this is almost
Oh, no.
over.
Yeah.
Something horrible is about to happen.
But it creates this panic, and it was very interesting to see how they use the color in this to do that.
Yeah, and even in the daylight, they have things like, you know, when they're dressed like those construction workers or whatever, when
Yeah.
they rob the bank, they've got those very bright, like yellow-green vests, and like when the smoke bomb goes off.
Oh yeah, that was such a cool moment.
It's so cool, and
Yeah.
like visually, it's maybe my favorite part of the movie. And like it's, you know, they could have gone with like a black ink blast or something, but they went with this like insane.
red one, yeah.
It looked like Barney exploded.
Yeah.
You know?
And then, you know, maybe there was blood.
And
you
even-
know,
Yeah,
blood
for
reference.
sure.
And even to those
Totally.
vests, they like the way they shot it, they glowed. They were brighter.
100%.
Even in the daylight when they wouldn't be as reflective, they still made it reflective.
Yeah.
Which made it feel like not day. So it was really cool.
It kind of shows how even though Connie is not an idiot, he's definitely still an idiot. It's like, oh, I want to make sure I don't stand out while I'm robbing this bank. How about bright reflector vests?
Yeah.
Right.
Oops.
But yeah, that ink bomb going off sequence all the way until they got busted was definitely my favorite part of the movie because I really did like the urgency there. And like when they were in the bathroom trying to wash it off, and the guy was outside banging on the door, and you're like, oh shit, he's gonna call the cops. Oh god, oh god, oh god, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You know, that was really well shot.
I could be wrong, but I think there's something about that the dominoes they shot in where like they didn't tell them they were going to shoot in there. Like they wanted to do something like organic and real, so like the people in there were actually reacting to these two random people come running in. I could be wrong, but I thought it was that part of the movie. I know they did something like that.
Very ballsy.
Yeah.
To try to pull that off.
I would believe it.
Yeah,
I
don't remember which part it is, and I could be completely wrong. And I'll look it up after this, and if I am, there was a big highlight and delete. But if not, then look at me go.
And is it true they also actually wheeled and kidnapped a catatonic wheelchair-bound prisoner out of the
I
hospital?
mean, why not, right?
Yeah, right. At that point, it's like, we already did the dominoes and got away with it.
Gotta make it authentic.
That was one part of the movie that annoyed me because when he's doing that, I'm just like, it's not his brother. It's not his
It
brother.
can't be. It's too early in the movie.
It's too early in the movie. I know it's not his brother.
This went too perfectly for it to be your brother.
That's so funny. I guess I was the fool.
Yeah, I was
took
too.
the bait. I was like, I guess this is the part of the movie where his brother's in a wheelchair for the rest of it. But
That's kind of what I figured was happening too. I thought it was like, oh, he's gonna get his brother out, then he still needs to solve that problem somehow.
Yeah.
I was in a
Catch
similar
them.
place. I didn't quite get what was going on, and I was like, wouldn't it be weird if it wasn't his brother? Oh shoot, it wasn't his brother.
Yeah, I just
Like, I
did
kind of
the
had that
whole
thought
time.
at kind of the end of the tip of that, where I was like, maybe it's not.
But this kind of organically goes into that character who I
That
want to talk about.
character's literally a dumbass.
he's
Yeah.
so
For every
he's
way that
even
Connie
dumber
is
than everybody
smart,
else.
that guy's dumb.
But before we go too far into the character, I want to talk about the actor who is not an actor.
What?
Nope, not an
yeah,
actor.
I'm trying.
What?
This
I'm
is his
trying
like
to find
this
him
is his
on
second
IMDb,
role
it's not
ever.
really saying.
Cool.
Actor now.
He had been in the director's first movie as a much smaller part, and then they gave him a much bigger part in this one. And I watched a talk show with him and the directors, and they were like, "So I think his name is Benny," and they're like, "Oh, so you like doing this thing?" And the guy's almost in tears. He's like, I've taken one acting class because I felt like I should after the first movie, and I don't know where I'd be in my life if it wasn't for these two guys letting me
Wow.
try to act, and it's like heartbreaking.
Where'd
but
he come
so,
from?
I don't know. But it's like almost heartbreaking, but also very heartwarming. Like this, how thankful he is just for a shot, and
That's cool.
and he did such a good job.
And
He
being
really
a
did.
dumbass.
You know, that's how we got
Yeah.
Nick Frost. He was just a waiter, and he was Simon Pegg's friend. And Simon Pegg told Edgar Wright, like, hey, this buddy of mine is really fucking funny. And they put him in Spaced, and now he's Nick Frost.
That's where he
Simon
got his
Pegg was
name.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
But this guy, I'd be interested to see what else he does because he kind of has that problem of he looks kind of like the shrimpy idiot who will be like the scapegoat in every situation,
Yeah.
and he plays that role really, really well. But he's just such a fucking idiot in this movie.
He was a little sympathetic for the way that he described himself getting out of jail. Because, yes, dropping an inmate who's fresh out of prison off in front of a liquor store, what the hell?
But that's
Don't do that.
so fucking common. Like that's why like the prison system is so fucked. And I really appreciated this movie just stating it. Like it was kind of, you don't see that very often.
Because
a lot of times
who
in
knows
movies.
what the trajectory of his day would have been if that hadn't been.
Well, yeah, but like most of the time when you watch movies about a guy getting out of prison, he walks out of prison to some babe.
What
or like
they
some,
normally do is drop it in LA, at least, is drop you off at the train station at Union Station in a gray jumpsuit or sweatsuit and with some money in your pocket, and there you go.
Yeah, and it's good
So
luck.
if you ever see a guy wandering through Union Station in a gray sweatshirt or a gray sweatsuit, yeah, he just came from prison.
Yeah,
Probably looking a little dejected and a little excited
Yeah.
and a lot of things.
yeah. But it's just so like the only other thing that I can think of that depicted how difficult it is to get released from jail was Orange Is the New Black. Where it's when Tasty gets out, she gets out and she's like, I don't know how to live life anymore. And that's entirely what this guy had. He showed up, he's like, well, I haven't drank in years and you dropped me off in front of a liquor store. Guess what I'm gonna fucking do?
Right.
And then wow, he really fucked up.
And then
Beyond
he just
that,
did everything else afterwards.
yeah, all the way to jumping out of a taxi cab. Probably not the best decisions.
Not ideal. Not ideal.
His life just might be better in prison.
Well,
He never got to experience that.
yeah,
Some people
he's
like
dead
being
now.
told what to do all the time, and like you
Yeah.
know when to get up, you know when to go to sleep, you
Yeah.
know when to eat. Like you don't have
Just
to
try
make
not
any
to get
choices.
shipped.
Yeah.
he was a jumper, which makes that ending make sense. Like
Yeah.
everything he did, he just kind of jumped into it.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm watching the movie the first time. Now that I know it's coming, it's kind of like, oh, that's what you get, fucker. But like I'm watching it and like he climbs out the window and like for some reason I still didn't expect him to fall. And like the cynic in me is like, he wouldn't be able to do that in real life. He'd fall. Oh, there he goes.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and he was so wasted too by that point.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Like he sells the like drunkenness of like an addict who is like given his own worst medicine.
Yeah.
and it's very intense. Like I'm surprised that they went that route with it because it is so brutal and so uncompromising, and unfortunately, probably the most honest possible ending they could have given that character.
It's also
absolutely.
really well shot. I really
is.
like the choice to do it from a distance
Yeah.
and not ever cut close.
And that's kind of how I like how Connie got arrested finally. Like it almost felt anticlimactic, but in a way that it should. Like they did it the same way that the guy fell off the roof. You see it from that guy's point of view of Connie running, and it's like there's no chance he gets away, and then nope, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it really just it feels like fly in the wall. Like you see him as like a speck at the bottom of the screen getting tackled by two cops, and like, well, that's the end of that.
And just watching them get closer and closer, just
Yep.
the inevitability of it. It's such a microcosm of the inevitability of the whole movie, just everything closing in on this very, very ill-fated plan of this guy.
Yeah, and it works really well. Like I'm still very impressed with how well this movie was made.
Yeah. The like I said, the structure of it, the cinematography, a lot of great choices. For me, it was just like it was like Kids. I thought it reminded me of watching Kids, where the whole time the movie you're just so uncomfortable and you just want it to end. And I think that's what I didn't like about it. Is I'm just not in a headspace where I was able to handle a movie that was so relentless and I just kept going. When is this movie going to be over? I can't. I can only handle this for so long. So it was an emotional reaction that I had to the film.
Luckily, it's not 2 hours long.
Yeah. It's pretty short. Yeah.
And it would not surprise me if Harmony Korine is like, that was my favorite movie this year.
Yeah, totally. Actually, knowing him, he'd probably be like, they ripped me off. This is my thing. I do young dirtbags in bright colors. This is bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, any other time I'd be eating this up because this is my type of movie. This is my jam. The things that just end so bleak and
Yeah,
and
really?
hopeful. I love it.
Oh, man.
But this year has
this
taken
year.
me for a ride, and the in-flight movie is this.
Yeah.
So mix up a couple metaphors there.
See, I feel maybe it's just the way that I deal with things, but like I like watching these things when everything sucks because I go, mine's not that bad.
I'm always so conflicted because I know there's so many times that Brian wants to go to a movie that looks depressing. And I'm never in the mood to go to a depressing movie. A lot of times I'll end up loving that movie once you get me to go watch it.
Yeah.
But the getting me there is usually a process.
The thing I end up craving the most in movies and entertainment these days are the no man's land moment in Wonder Woman. That triumphant moment of just exhilaration, and that there's a lot of that that's missing in 2017. And so even though I really like this movie, this is my jam. These depressing movies, there's an imbalance, and that's an interesting thing to approach movies like this year and this era with.
I mean, as movies go this year, this was not the most upsetting thing I've watched, which is saying something because this one is very upsetting.
And we're not talking about the news, are we?
No, I'm talking about just movies in general. But like when I watched Elle earlier this year, that was far more upsetting.
Yeah, that's really rough.
Yeah, it was just a rough watch. Whereas this one, like it's a rough watch for sure, but just maybe it's the filmmaker in me. But I'm just watching this movie come together, and like I feel like this movie shouldn't work. I don't know what it is, but I'm just watching like these parts don't feel like they should fit as well as they do, and it worked very well. Like for some reason, knowing these characters, I don't see them being into like synth or like that sort of music, but that music totally fits the movie, and it feels like it shouldn't. And like just everything about it, just kind of like it felt like if this was a tentpole Warner Brothers Paramount movie, something like that, which it isn't, it's A24, who's actually willing to take risks with movies, which is why they're doing so well right now. But if this was like a normal tentpole film, I feel like every one of these decisions would have been questioned and pushed back. And since
They'd want to make it more sympathetic, and they'd want to make it
Yeah.
a bigger problem, like over a week, not one night, probably. Or something
yeah,
like that.
so it's really kind of interesting that they were able to just do this and just stick to their guns and make the movie they wanted to make. And because of that, I was given what I still think is one of the best of the year.
Yeah. It's also so well reviewed, and I do wonder if a movie like this that is so its own beast, and it's very bleak and very kind of simple and straightforward, it's not really trying to comment that much on that much. I mean, it certainly has something to say about, like, class structure and the nature of, the prison industrial system and things like that. where somebody like Nikki can get caught up into a prison system, that something is wrong.
Yeah.
The fact that they would put him into
Gen Pop.
Right.
Gen
Rikers.
Pop, I was just like, no, it's obvious this guy does not belong in Gen Pop. Like, he
100%.
needs to be in a protected place. Just put him in solitary.
Normally, well, there is a wing in most prisons. There's a wing for people, but usually it's people with not like he's mentally what's the word that we're using?
Spectrum. He's on the spectrum.
But he's not crazy.
Yeah.
And normally they have a wing of the prison for people with like psychological problems, and that's probably where he would end up. But he'd have to be like tested first. And I used to be married to a prison guard, so he would be like tested first, and he'd have to go through the whole process probably before they put him there. Not necessarily, but that's probably so it's actually believable that he'd end up here first and maybe be moved over there, especially after he got beat up. I can't imagine they'd leave him in Gen Pop, but
Right.
yeah.
But in this case, it does seem like maybe part of why, obviously a lot of people don't want to watch it or don't necessarily take to it because it is so bleak right now.
Yeah.
But a film like this that's so kind of odd, maybe part of why it's so well reviewed this year is also because of the year that it's released. Where,
Could be, yeah.
Like you said, so many people are, also responding to the fact that, this is a movie about survival mode. That's like the 2-word description I would use for this movie.
Sure, yeah, that
it's
makes
like
sense.
from the beginning of it, everybody's just like fight or flight, like adrenaline. Everybody's just trying to make it in one piece to the end of whatever the hell this is. And I think everybody kind of feels that way this year. Speaking personally, I feel like the entire year has been absolutely like January 1st, survival mode. And just we're up to however many 300 and something days of that at this point.
I was thinking on my deathbed, I really hope when I go back through my life that this is the worst year, because if it gets worse than this, we're not going to make it.
yeah, then that would be a very bleak film indeed.
With that makes the girl's character more interesting in a way, because she's not in survival mode.
Yeah.
She's actually more like the apathetic, nothing's really that bad type of person right now in America, until like they get to the point when she's getting arrested and she sees him in the security guard outfit and she's just confused. Like, she
It's
doesn't
a
have anything to
disillusioning
say.
moment for
She's
her.
just
Yeah.
staring at him
That's-
going, what's happening?
We haven't really talked about the 2 women that he seduces. It's funny because he is so like such a like a working class guy, but he clearly knows how handsome he is because he's still Cedric Diggory. And
Did you think he was still handsome in this movie? Because I've seen him in other things. I go, yeah, I get it. This one was like, nope.
If I were
He
that,
looks unshowered.
but if I were the white girl that he gets the money from, oh yeah, I think he was a dreamboat.
Yeah.
I personally am not attracted to him, but I can see from her
okay,
perspective, like he knew exactly what to say and do, and that's interesting because both girls were so easily manipulated.
And the white girl
Well,
is
he
Jennifer
goes for-
Jason Leigh, by the way.
Yeah, Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is significantly older than Robert Pattinson, and I like they still gave her this part. Like, you don't see
never
that.
happens.
You don't see
Yeah.
that in movie. Like, if you see a guy dating an older woman, it's like a year or like maybe 2 years, but beyond that, not really.
Which is
much
again,
anything.
she has this younger, good-looking guy who just like
Who's
says all the right
manipulating the
things.
shit out of her.
Yeah.
Very much so,
And
yeah.
you can really see that this girl has some serious fucking issues that she has not dealt with, and I like that because we don't even go into them. Her relationship with her mom is super fucked up.
There's a whole movie there.
there's
like-
mommy issues.
Some men have treated her very badly. Like,
Yeah.
you can just sort of see it, but you don't need to
Absolutely.
know it. You just know it's there, and that explains all her behavior. You get enough clues that you get it. You're like, oh, I get it. I know that girl.
And just her like screaming at her mom on the phone in the bail bondsman's office, just like,
Yes.
I just want to do a nice thing for somebody, and it's like
so
you don't
gut-wrenching.
even know what you're doing. You're just helping your incredibly selfish boyfriend,
Yeah.
who should not be a boyfriend at all.
No.
No.
But honestly, that one didn't upset me nearly as much as when he's trying to convince the young girl that he like there's a relationship here, and it's like, and you can just see
He's
it.
just trying to
gross.
control her.
And
Yeah.
that's all it is. It's just like, if I don't tell her this, she'll drive away. So I need to tell her that no, we're gonna be in love, and this is gonna be a relationship. Stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the most, like, maybe the biggest collateral damage in the entire movie in terms
Not
of, like,
the-
an
She's
innocent
completely
person.
naive.
No way. The biggest collateral damage has to be the security guard.
Well,
who
he got physically
Well,
beat
he-
up, but
yeah.
she's
he got physically beat up. He was arrested with acid in his
true,
system.
That's true.
Well, that's also
That's
But
true.
I'm sure his job would be like, no, he is our security guard. Something
wouldn't care.
fucked up happened.
They would-
You
Well-
you hope so, but that's not always the case. Because
Are they gonna believe him?
yeah, if you go with somebody's word over his, what shows up is that we have this guy who's passed out in a ride, high out of his mind on acid.
And he was
Yes,
probably already
but-
hired from like not so great means before. Like, so like he's probably got baggage that the company could
Well,
leverage against him.
I don't know,
so-
because his
No, but
apartment's
he'll
really nice. He looks
he'll
like he's
totally
fine.
get believed because of the fact that Pattinson had been on the news all day. So then when he gets sober in the hospital, he'll be like, it's the guy, that guy. And then they'll talk to the cops and they'll be like, oh yeah, he was the guy wearing the security outfit. All this makes sense now.
Hopefully.
Again,
Hopefully.
I say hopefully, because I don't trust our legal system very much.
Yeah.
And this
From the
movie
lens-
did not make it look like they were
And
in a
he's
good
a young
area
black
for legal
man.
system. Yeah.
But also, I don't know why. I guess I'm just trying to prove my case that the girl is the biggest collateral damage. So I'm going to weirdly argue that, like, the security guard, it's a occupational hazard, you know? Like, he's a security guard, you know? Like, he literally signed up
mean,
for it. I mean, I know.
Would
but-
say. Yeah.
Yes, but, like, he signed up for it, and she doesn't really know what she's doing. She's in over her head, and she's not trying to get into trouble so much as she's just kind of swept up into this dude's
he'll
manipulation and
move
magnetism.
on. He'll course correct as needed. This was a defining moment for her in the bad way.
Can you
Yeah, and a
imagine the
disillusioned
grandma
one.
waking up?
Oh, yeah. Her granddaughter's in
God.
jail.
Yeah, she's had a bad
Yeah.
night.
Her
that grandma.
Car's been stolen.
Car stolen, daughter's in jail,
And-
strange men that had been in your place and you allowed them to
Yeah,
be in your
all
place.
because she felt sympathy for him, and he took absolute advantage of that.
Yeah.
And now she's probably never going to do a nice thing for anyone ever again.
Yeah.
Because look what
Is
it cost her.
that in the movie where he smiled the most too? Robert Pattinson's character Connie. I remember, like, I saw him smile a lot more in that section than in the rest of the movie when he was
'Cause
like
he had,
manipulating.
he had
Probably.
people he
Yeah,
had put a
he-
face on.
Yeah,
for.
he's manipulating people. The thing that I thought was the best manipulation that he had throughout the entire movie, which is saying something kind of fucked up, but I loved it when he's breaking the wrong brother out of jail, and when he asks to get on the bus first, he goes, "Oh, God bless you, thank you very much." And it's like, you're just conning these people.
Yeah.
Like, you're just trying to seem like a straight up good Christian boy who's taking care of his brother when you were none of those things.
Yeah.
You're not taking care of your brother right now.
You're taking care of what's his name, Benny something.
Is there anything that we've missed in this movie that people would want to talk about? We didn't talk about the girl very much, but we did talk about her.
Some good camera work. There's a cool,
Oh, yeah.
especially towards the end. I'm assuming it's drones, but there's some really impressive like visual aerial photography.
I liked it better as it got towards the end. In the beginning, there was a lot of close up on Pattinson, Connie's character, that just shook around and it was hard to place myself in there, except for maybe the very first shot where it's traveling to the building or something. But as it was like really shaky in the beginning, I was like, oh, am I in for one of these movies? I don't know the geography of anything. It got better,
Yeah,
Totally.
but still had a hard time at the beginning orienting myself.
Yeah.
I think it was well shot for the most part. I enjoyed.
I really oh, go ahead.
I just want to get my point out. I loved the last shot with
Pattinson.
Old Pattinson.
Connie, because it reminded me of the first time I saw The Graduate. Not
Oh,
The
yeah.
Graduate.
No,
Yeah, it is The Graduate.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you got it.
La la la. Because just the close-up shot on his face with the emotions just emoting through his eyes, of the different emotions of like, all right, I'm arrested. This is fucked. You can tell he's still thinking and how to
get out.
how to get his brother out. Essentially, at that
Yeah.
point, he's already given up on himself. He's thinking about how, okay, so now I just have to get my brother out. Still, he's still in that headspace. So it was kind of weird to me because, like, in the end of The Graduate, when they're finally in their headspace and they're looking around, going, "Oh God, we just did all these things. There's no going back now. And how are we going to proceed?" It's like, it's such mirrored to me in such a moment of like self-realization, of actually like a weird calm, and be like, okay, we fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, he has that perfect like shell shocked, like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I still need to
Still need to
succeed
get
in
my
my
brother
goal,
out,
but
yeah.
I don't know how now.
Yeah.
Bouncing off of that and what John said a minute ago, I really like some of the. I don't know if it was the choice that they made on set to not get a lot of coverage, or if that was in the edit, but I like the choice that a lot of these scenes play out in one angle.
Yeah.
You don't cut to close. You don't, like, even the last scene, we only see it close on Nick's face as he's walking. You never see the whole room like that. Seeing him drive away, you only see it in the like medium shot. You don't, like, the wide on the guy falling out of the building. Like, there's not a lot of like cutting back and forth, and I really like that.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah,
And it just establishes like a visual stamp for this film
Yeah.
that feels
Yeah.
very signature.
Feels very signature, and it helps establish a little bit more realism.
Also
Like,
makes you
because
go
it
a
doesn't
lot
feel
faster in production.
Yeah,
No doubt.
it didn't feel as like cutty, which isn't a bad thing. Like editing is great, but this one, like, they did it smart.
Yeah.
Especially at the very, very end. You only see the brother's face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When he gets into that room with those other people. They
Yeah.
did that quick shot of their close-ups of their faces, but then otherwise they're just blurs.
yeah.
Yeah.
The only other thing I want to mention before we move into quotes is with that last shot. That last shot with him sitting in the back of the police car should never have been in the trailer. Whoever cut the trailer did a hellworthy trespass by putting that in the trailer,
Yeah.
and I will never forgive them. That was the biggest fuck up in trailers this year, which is saying something because there's been a lot of fucked up trailers this year that spoiled a lot of stuff. Showing that he gets arrested in the movie is fucked up, and it really pisses me off.
For
that
me,
they've
I
done that.
didn't know when that happened. If it could have been before all the events or not. So.
Since I had seen the trailer on mute once, and I'd seen him in the cop car, and then he dyes his hair blonde, I'm like, oh, he gets arrested at the end.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's funny is the last time I was on the podcast, I remember you ranting about how terrible that trailer was. I was like, I just sat here and I was like, wait, what day is it? I got such wicked deja vu. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Last time I was here, you had just seen Good Time. And
Yeah.
you were like, go see this movie and don't watch that fucking trailer.
I really hate that trailer. All right, I think it's time for quotes.
I only got one, so I'm going to say it in case anybody else steals it.
Go for it.
I really liked in the opening scene when the psychiatrist or social worker is quizzing Nick and he's becoming uncomfortable and starts crying, and the brother runs in and he's just like, how would you like it if somebody made you cry? Yeah, I would not like that.
I love his response. I wouldn't like it, but you're still not helping.
yeah.
It's like, I wouldn't like that at all.
All right, searching good time quotes just gets you a lot of stupid inspirational shit.
Oh, just
So,
go with the one that you had.
I was hoping to make sure I could get it verbatim, but yeah, when they're sitting down and watching Cops, and like I can relate to that, especially right now in today's atmosphere. You gotta turn the channel because I don't want to see them try to justify this.
Yeah.
Because we're listening to that constantly right now. That is America. How can we justify the terrible thing that just happened?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a very writerly film, you know. It's not. It doesn't feel very written, and a lot of it actually feels very improvised. I think to its benefit, but you know, the line that really clued me into Pattinson's character and kind of gave me the key that I needed to kind of unlock how his mind ultimately works is that bit where they're in the apartment towards the end, and Benny, the guy that he kind of gets saddled with for half the movie, goes like, "Oh, you think you're better than me?" And he like has this huge smile on his face, Robert Pattinson, and he says, "I am better than you."
Yeah.
And that is, I think, the line that plugs you directly into the way that this character sees the world, where, you know, we talked a bit about how he's a loser, how he's got this, like, you know, sense of like the world being against him, but like also this is a dude who falls because of his pride.
And that's what enables him to manipulate people.
100%.
Conviction that he is better than they are.
100%. So when he says that line, especially with this giant smile on his face, like, "Oh, buddy, I am so glad to set you straight on this." Like, it was, to me, the best line in the film because it finally gave me the handle on this character that I think I was grasping for.
I like the piggybacking off of that, just the line that the other guy says, that no one's better than any of the next man or whatever. That line just
Totally.
Yeah.
'cause I got where he was coming from. He's like, no, I'm not trying to, like, that's not the point of this.
Yeah.
It's like, what is your deal? What is your thing? Not that anyone's better than any other person. And there's a lot of conversations that kind of are that way.
100%.
I have two. One that's from that scene as well, because this one's more funny because I so sympathize with Benny in this one line where he looks at him and goes, "Why you got to be such a fucking little prick all the time?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Yeah.
I
As
totally agree with
Like,
you.
As
he
dumb
was
as Benny is.
definitely the entire audience in that moment.
Yeah.
100%.
Connie was very bossy towards Benny.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But the other line that is just take every reason that you just said for your line, but apply it to this one, because I thought that moment came for me a little bit earlier, and it's when he's talking to the girl. And I'm like, oh, I totally get this character right now. And he's talking to the girl, and he goes, "Don't be confused. That's just gonna make it more. It's just gonna make it worse for me."
Yes.
And it's like that says so much about your character.
Asshole line.
That's a total narcissist.
That's him
point.
telling the girl,
Yeah.
"Don't think.
Yeah.
Just listen
Just
to
do
me."
what I tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, was
And
it the girl? Or was it Jennifer Jason Leigh? I don't remember.
No,
who.
it was the girl, right?
I think it was the girl.
She was hesitating for
Okay.
something.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's around the time she asks, very justifiably, like, who is that man freaking out in that bedroom?
Oh yeah,
right now?
yeah. I forgot when it happened. It's that line just stuck out so much because it is that moment of just like, wow, everything is just to service you.
You are an
Yeah.
asshole.
Yeah, he is an asshole, and that's where we come back to like the very beginning of like he might not be trying to hurt people, but he's totally willing to do it.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, does he actually love his brother? Because he's the reason his brother's in prison. Like, his brother didn't come up with the idea to rob banks. He got him involved. So does he actually love his brother, or does he just, like,
Use him.
does he use him, or does he feel just like an obligation to him?
It could
I
be
think
one of
it's
those
that-
situations where he's the
He's in love-
symbol that makes him feel like he's a good person.
Yeah.
Without
Yeah.
his brother, he has to realize that he's not a good person.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's his one anchor to reality and to being a decent human being, and he thinks that he's doing a good job.
Yeah, and we see how quickly he spirals off into like sociopathic tendencies, even like an hour without his brother.
Yeah.
He's just like, time to steal some shit.
Yeah, if we haven't said this enough, Robert Pattinson is really good in this
He's
movie.
really good.
Yeah, credit where it's due. Like
Yeah.
I just rewatched Twilight last weekend.
Oh, God.
He's better in this.
He's much better in this. I really,
What are you
Things
talking
are
about?
I love-
This is the skin of a killer.
I love. I don't know if y'all are into like Mystery Science Theater or riff tracks.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
one
I
of my.
mean,
Yeah, I don't know, because some people, there's been a bit of a blowback. Some people are like, well, there's been like this contingency online that like Mystery Science Theater has kind of ruined movies because now everybody feels like they get to do that. You know, like
kind of this culture of ironic detachment.
a culture of ironic detachment and a culture of like, it's my job to like analyze, criticize this movie like in real
Which
time.
is totally a misread on what they're doing, which is
Yeah.
they love these movies.
Yeah, it's
which is why they're
much
doing
more
it.
celebratory. But point being, the riff tracks for the first Twilight movie is one of my favorite comedies in history, and so I had people over last weekend and we watched it. It was like the 5th time I've seen it, and I was thinking about how I was going to be seeing Good Time,
Yeah.
and, to talk about it here, and I was just like, God, like literally a 10-year span between Twilight and this movie, and you can just see how desperately Pattinson is just clawing his way away from like he is like, make me ugly, make me shitty, make me the worst person you can. Just I have to distance myself immediately from Edward.
It's funny. In 2017, both him and Kristen Stewart have given the best performances of their career.
And
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
Personal
still-
shopper.
Yep.
Still
Yeah.
not getting fully recognized for it.
Nope.
Twilight
to
put
break out of
such a
that.
stain on them.
I feel more so on Kristen Stewart than Robert Pattinson because it's Hollywood, and Hollywood likes to shit on women for whatever reason.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she had the problem with the drama during Snow White as well.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's been shamed for that so completely, and it's like, well,
And it's
for all
still
we know,
like,
Pattinson's
dude,
been
the
up to horrible
older
shit on
married
this.
man
who knows?
preying on her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, but
And-
it's all about her being a slut. Yeah.
And guess what? She's a fucking human. So
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah,
And
she's
again,
allowed
nothing
to
do
sleep
with
with
it.
whoever she wants,
Yeah.
consenting
Yeah.
adults. Yeah,
And it's a person in a position of authority. And again, like, what have we seen just completely brought to light this year, if
Yeah.
not like people in positions of authority in the industry just abusing it at every possible opportunity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So review system.
Yeah, totally.
It's a great segue there. The review system for this one is going to be movies that are fucking depressing. And I can go first if people don't have one locked and loaded. Because I think this one's actually pretty close.
I'm going to need a minute.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Requiem for a Dream. And I feel that way because I feel that the Jared Leto character and the Robert Pattinson character, I feel like would not be friends, but they would be frenemies. Like in the way of like, they're so similar of like, I don't want to do a bad thing to anybody, but I'm totally willing to do it. And they're willing to screw over everyone they love to try to forward their story, if you will, even though they think that they're the good guy in every situation.
I also heard that Jared Leto was apparently such a dick on that set that one of the PAs regularly peed in his coffee.
Oh, that's just terrible.
That you'd have to be a pretty
That-
huge dick to deserve that.
I would.
That's not.
I don't know if
Cool.
that's what I heard, guys, from someone
Yeah.
who worked
You could be
on the
mad at
movie.
someone, but don't feed them your urine.
Yeah, that-
I would agree with almost literally every other person on Earth except maybe Jared Leto. I don't know.
I'll go. I obviously I've already said it. I think it kept reminding me of Kids, just the
Yeah.
relentlessness and the way it made me feel so uncomfortable. And at the end, I was just like, "This is the worst."
I'm gonna go with The Witch
Okay.
because you're being put in a situation where no one's really on your side. It's kind of an impossible situation because you can't fight it. You can try to fight it, but you're gonna lose. And then at the end, you're free, but also in prison. So, no one's a winner.
Do you think he liked to live deliciously?
I don't think anyone lived deliciously in either film.
It was really weird when Robert Pattinson's brother starts floating towards the end of the film.
And like sheds his clothes. It's like,
Yeah, I was
I've
like,
had
well, I
that
guess.
argument with a lot of people where they think, oh, she's totally free at the end of the witch. I'm like, no, she's not. Now she has to serve the devil. It's just a different type of a prison.
Yeah. It's
God, I love that movie.
I almost made a joke about like the devil or something, and I was like, no, even that's stupid for me by my standards.
I'll pick Blue Valentine, which is these characters who have a very idea. They have this idea that they're pushing for to fix a thing, and it's their idea what's right. Or kind of similar to how Pattinson's character is like grounded this idea that he's a good guy because of all this, and there's just collateral damage in the wake, and it plays out very much the same, and it ends up in a very depressing place. Great date movie. Which we actually, my wife and I went on a date to watch that movie.
God.
Yeah. These are all great date movies,
See,
my friends.
when I say that I like bleak movies,
Is that
like,
her
I don't,
jam too?
Yeah.
And at the end, she just curls up next to you and cries, and that's when you make your move.
Yeah. We also saw Enter the Void together as a date, and it was just like,
what a
perfect.
treat. What
I
a
feel
treat.
so dejected
Wow.
right now. Let's make a baby.
Yeah. I did
The
see The
timeline's
Witch.
not exactly right there, but
I just remembered the one time I saw The Witch, I was on a date. I think it might have been a first or
Guys,
second
don't
date.
look, audience. Do not take a girl to see a fucking depressing movie on your day,
Yeah.
especially not your like first.
Convert-
I mean,
Firstly-
you can take him to a depressing movie, not The Witch.
Here's a
Look.
movie about a girl being punished for her sexuality.
But you know what? It was like, I think it was like the middle of January. Like there wasn't anything out.
counterpoint, you might find the perfect person.
That's
You guys
very
can
true.
appreciate-
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
I guess for me, the depressing movie that comes to mind would be Mike Leigh's Naked, which came out back in like the early 90s, like 93, I think.
We actually have a copy of that. I love that movie.
I love that movie too. It's David Thewlis. Forget who else is in it. Some incredible performances, and basically, Mike Leigh's character in that, I think his name's Johnny. He is similar to Robert Pattinson in that he's just trying to get through the night. He's trying.
Saying
to...
it's right behind you. You can
Oh,
grab it.
cool, nice. You pointed behind me, and I was like, David
Right
If
Thewlis?
you wanted to grab the names.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. David Thewlis just popped like slowly.
Hello,
came
I'm
up from
here.
behind your chair.
But yeah, the whole trajectory of that film, it also takes place in one night. David Thewlis is trying to escape a bad situation he got himself into.
He raped a woman.
Yes. I didn't know how much we could spoil these movies, but
This is the very like the first scene of the film, so it's not much of a spoiler.
also true. But yeah, to that point, it's very much similar to Robert Pattinson's trajectory. It's like, here's a bad narcissistic person. Here's someone who is his own worst enemy and who is going to just continue moving, almost like a shark's propulsion. Like if he stops, he dies. Right up to the point that, he has like a broken ankle at the end of the film, and the last shot of the film is him literally hopping on one foot towards the camera down an entire block, just demonstrating like this man, if he stops, he literally dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very compelling. It's one of my favorite British films.
It's so weird because the entire time you're watching that movie, you'd be like, I hate you. I hate you.
100%.
But I also want to see what you're going to do.
Yeah, and he encounters similar to this. Actually, it's a really interesting parallel. Like he encounters in these episodic little moments throughout the night, like all sorts of different people that tend to bring out the worst in him or reflect his own negative worldview back onto himself. And yeah, it's a challenging film, but a pretty exceptional one.
Yeah.
Cool. I've never seen it.
I had Jandy watch
It's
it
right
when
there.
she did that. thing.
Apparently, I own it.
Yeah.
I've actually
great
never,
date movie.
I've actually never seen like any of these movies. Shockingly,
Yeah.
that is not
Well,
something
you've got
I
a
reached
great
for.
Saturday ahead of you. You're gonna watch so
I mean,
many
I
sad
highly
movies.
recommend The Witch. It's a great watch, but
Sounds delightful.
It is actually a pretty
and there
great
are
film.
some
Witch
people.
is pretty awesome.
There are some people
But you
that
don't like
think
horror
it's a
movies,
happy
so-
ending.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd even call it depressing so much as it's just, a wildly effective horror movie that really does its job.
I like scary horror movies. I
This
just don't
one's not
like.
one of
I
those.
don't like gory.
This is
not-
not gory at all.
Okay.
It's suspenseful.
Okay. That's fine. I like being scared. I hate being grossed out.
There's one supremely gross thing in the first 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can kind of close your
I'll
eyes.
hide
But although
behind a
hearing it
pillow.
might be worse, so I don't know.
I wasn't as affected to buy it as either of these two.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it. But okay, so that brings an end to Good Time.
It was a good time.
It was.
That was
I had a good time
great
talking
time.
about it.
Yeah.
And now Emily never has to think about this movie again.
Those frosted tips, though.
Who's gonna go home and lie in a ball on the couch and be sad?
I'm gonna build my couch today and then lie in it in a curled up position.
Perfect.
Good.
So next week we have, to celebrate Christmas, our Secret Santa episode, which is something I look forward to now every Christmas.
I'm really sad. I'm gonna have to miss this one.
Yeah,
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
But I'm gonna be working.
Apparently, you chose a good day to work instead of coming on, because the movies that we have slated are not great. They might be a little upsetting to some. I think I win, but we'll talk about it next week. So I got Godzilla versus Gigan. I don't remember how to pronounce that one. Gigon, thank you.
Or it could be the other way. I don't know.
Who knows? We'll find out.
Ask
Who
the
knows who
Japanese.
chose that one?
Yeah.
Either
so
way,
we'll-
whoever wins, Brian loses.
Yeah.
I didn't choose it.
Chewie gets Jack and the Beanstalk from 1974.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I have no idea
John
what that
gets Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Yeah.
Oh.
Elliot, who's going to be on, gets Night of the Hunter, which I've never
Oh,
even heard of.
I like that.
Oh, that's a
movie.
good. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good flick.
I've ever
there we go.
Elliot got the best
Yeah,
one so far.
that's
And then Elvis, who will be coming on to replace Emily, got Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
What an odd Christmas.
So
this is
what
going
a
to be.
weird
Wow.
Christmas we're gonna have next
What
week.
a
But tune in
fucking
next week
lineup.
to hear us talk about those movies, and then we get to guess who gave them to us and whatnot. But it'll be a hell of an episode.
Oh, what a.
And then the week after that, don't forget, for Happy New Year's, we're gonna watch the best New Year's movie ever, which there's very few of. So we're doing Ghostbusters 2.
No.
Which everyone seems to go like, oh yeah, that is a
I
good
like
one.
Ghostbusters
Yeah.
too.
So we're good to go. All right, so thank you, Eric, very much for coming back out.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you to everybody for being here, and bye.
Bye.